Welcome to the Seeing Double podcast, hosted by gymowners.com. We're your hosts. I'm Amy Davis.
And I'm Patty Davis.
We're two identical twins with completely different lives. We'll be sharing double the perspective of any topic we dive into.
All right, guys, let's jump in. Well, Amy, summer is officially coming to an end. And when I think of summer, I always think of vacations. So let's picture this. You're lounging by the pool or you're listening to the waves, you're sipping on a margarita, and you are smelling sunscreen.
Okay, but a margarita sounds so good right now.
I know, it's literally the middle of the day. But wait, today we are not talking about margaritas. No, we are going to dive headfirst into the world of vacations. And Amy and I were very lucky growing up. We always went on one big family vacation every summer. But lately, that just hasn't been the case. We all work full time. We're busy. Traveling doesn't always line up. And so today in this episode, we want to go back in time and take you along with us on some Davis twins vacations.
So a great place to start would be the very last vacation we went on together, which was an absolute blast. Yes. We went to Cancun, Mexico last year with our mom. Were we celebrating something or were we just going? I can't remember.
I don't think
we were celebrating because we had both gotten engaged and she wanted to take us. We were starting to plan our weddings and that was what we were celebrating, the fact that we had both recently gotten engaged. So we found an amazing resort, which I can't remember the name of. And I don't also want to say the name of the resort for the fact of where the story is going. But we stayed at an awesome resort. We had the best time. I think it was over a week long. I think it was like an 8-day trip in Cancun. And it was just such a great getaway, like the first real adult life vacation away from work and whatnot. So there was one problem that came up on this trip, and that was that I woke up one morning and literally could not hear out of both my ears. And looking back, like I remember I had some like signs the couple of days before. I remember my ears kept popping a little bit, and you're the one that usually gets ear infections or stuff like that. You always complain about ear popping and stuff after swimming. But it never had happened to me. Yeah, it had never happened. And it was horrible. I woke up one morning, again, literally couldn't hear a sound out of either ear. So my first instinct, of course, is cry. Like cry a lot and get your feelings out. We're both like, cried. Oh my God, what are we going to do? So the first thing we did is just grab over-the-counter little eardrops that they had at like the little pharmacy there. And I tried those for maybe a few hours that morning, a couple different servings. And then next thing you know, nothing had cleared up. And I ended up having to go to the emergency room at the resort.
Which they literally say don't do.
It was crazy. It was literally a room in the resort. It was like
hotel,
the lobby that you like walk down and there's like a resident room. And then here's your emergency room, but don't worry, another resident room right next to it. So we go in there and I'm crying still probably. And obviously. I just was so freaked out because my ears were just so bad at this point because now I'd put so many different eardrops in them and nothing was helping. So very long story short, the doctor there was like...
Not a doctor.
Like probably not a doctor. He was definitely not qualified, I don't think. But I'm like, I need help. I can't hear. My ears hurt. It's like my head is pounding now. So long story short, he did some tests. He tried to like blow like stuff very hardly into them and it hurt really, really bad. And what he ended up doing was giving me 4 different prescriptions, which was just insane. That's so much medicine that he wrote me like so quick after a quick 5-minute appointment. But he wrote me 4 different prescriptions. I remember one of them was an antibiotic for some infection that he claimed was in there. 2 of them were different forms of eardrops that you can't just get over the counter. And the last one was this crazy painkiller. And the worst part about all 4 of these prescriptions is that they were in all Spanish. So
couldn't read.
We knew a little Spanish growing up, but not much. I think I remember seeing pain because I think we know the word pain. But every prescription had all Spanish on it. And I'm just staring at these 4 bags of medicine that he had given me, like very sketchy bags of medicine. And long story short, I started with the antibiotic quickly and I started with the eardrops quickly. And then the painkiller, I'm like, I don't know about this. And I remember the doctor had said no alcohol. That was the big thing. And in my head, I'm like, oh, he said no alcohol because of the painkiller. Yeah. And also I'm on vacation. So like 10 minutes after the appointment, probably as I'm still waiting for the medicine, I have a margarita in my hand just because it's Mexico and I've already claimed that I love margaritas. So very long story short, I take a picture of the prescriptions, all of them, all 4 of them, and sent them to my 2 doctor friends and my dad's doctor friend in 2 different groups. And long story short, next thing you know, my phone is blowing up from both of them saying like, you cannot take that strength of a painkiller. And the amount that he had prescribed me was just like through the roof. Do you remember? It was like 4 times. Yeah. Like 4 times the daily serving per serving. And I was supposed to take that like 2 times a day, making it like 8 times more than you're supposed to have in a single day.
Good math. Yeah.
Seriously, 8 times more. And I'm like, he's probably waiting for me to show back up at his emergency room, hotel room. It's actually so not funny. But like, if I went to texted our friends and found that out.
Yeah, they do say don't go to Mexico not knowing Spanish because who knows, maybe that was different measurements, but also maybe they wanted to take advantage of you or get more money. Yeah.
Do you know the craziest part? I literally still have those painkillers under our sink. Because we never opened them. I never took them. But literally, I think
how did you get them back to America?
They're little pills. They're like in a box. Oh, and I had a prescription on them, so it was not illegal.
So the other crazy thing that happened was on the last day of this trip, which actually the whole trip was dramatic because Amy couldn't hear for 2 days, whatever. Finally, Amy's ears were clear. She could hear. And we woke up one morning and it was mating season for the bugs. Do you remember? They were just everywhere.
Oh. They were breeding.
Moths, yeah. Butterflies,
they were these huge black moths that they like called like the national bug or something. And they were all on top of each other breeding like around the pool. And everyone at the pool is like, what is going on? Because it's just not a normal amount of bugs. It was just like every square inch of the air had bugs in them. It was so bad. I forgot about that until you just said it. My only like memory of that trip was my ears until you just said that. I remember the bugs.
Yes. No, we have bad luck going to foreign countries because I went to Colombia and I actually went without Amy. This was recently, sometime earlier this year. And I am talking about Colombia, South America, home of Pablo Escobar.
Escobar? You did not meet Pablo Escobar. Why did you say
Pablo? He's from there, but he's dead, Amy. So mostly what they're known for, unfortunately, is the cartel. There's a big cartel where we went. It's called Cali. It's, I think, their capital. But so I just didn't know what to expect on this trip. We went for work and we were onboarding a new client. So the first bad decision that I made was that I watched the whole season of Narcos right before I left. And I was just petrified of everything. So the second bad decision I made, because Colombians are really dark. They have dark hair, yada, yada, dark eyebrows, everything. And they said I should bring a wig. And I didn't take them seriously because who takes that seriously, you know? So I was the only blonde. I never saw another blonde that entire trip. But, okay, funny story. I'll make it quick, Amy. I went with Matt's mom. Matt was supposed to go with me for football. Or Matt was supposed to go with me, but he had football. I had to go with somebody because I was so scared. So I brought Matt's mom. And we got a couples massage. So it was like meant for either a honeymoon or something romantic because there was wine and I think there was chocolate when we got there. But anyway, so we get this massage and we scheduled it like 5 o'clock after work one day. And we were going to the fanciest dinner in Cali at 7. So our driver was supposed to pick us up at 6:30. It was an hour massage. We had a half an hour to get ready. We're doing the massage, trying to relax. It's supposed to be an hour, but we thought it'd be a little bit less because you're supposed to like sip wine afterwards. So first of all, people are like moving chairs everywhere upstairs. So I'm freaking out because I'm thinking like the cartel's attacking, but I knew it was chairs because I could hear like scuffing. So one, I just couldn't relax. So I wasn't really taking time to like think about, oh, I wonder how long I've been in here. So Amy, the massage is over. I'm greasy. You know how you look after a massage. You've got grease everywhere. I'm in this big football t-shirt from Matt. We go to the lobby to pay for our massage. And not only is it 7 o'clock, our massage ran a whole hour late. It was the best massage, and I should have known it was 2 hours, but I was just so distracted by the chairs and thinking that the cartel was there that I just wasn't paying attention. So we were an hour late. Not only was our driver there, but also the client. So this person that we're really trying to impress, like make us think that we're great people, whatever. And I'm standing there in a t-shirt paying for my massage as dinner reservations starting 30 minutes from where we're standing. So we end up going to this fancy restaurant as a grease ball. Luckily, I had enough time to put a dress on, but did not see any cartel members, which is kind of sad.
That is so bad. But I remember you had flown here first to my house before going to Colombia. And then after Colombia, you flew back here again. And you literally had so many stories. That one I had not heard somehow. But you told me all about how many times you had to wrap your head up and how many times. Oh, I got text, of course, of Trisha saying, oh my God, our bedroom door was unlocked when we came home from dinner and we're sure we left it locked, and like all these different things, and your literally nervous system was on edge that whole trip. Like that is so bad for you. I hope you never go back.
It took me like a month to relax afterwards, which it's sad because it was a great trip, and really like Matt's mom and I had the best time, but you just don't feel yourself being comfortable because you stick out so bad, and also you don't speak their language, and you're afraid of Pablo Escobar. So, like, what are you supposed to do?
Oh, my God. That's so funny.
We will not be going back.
Remind me what you didn't eat. There was, like, some food that you wouldn't allow yourself to eat while you were there.
Plantains, maybe, or, like, the bananas food they were eating.
Wasn't it meat? I thought you didn't eat meat.
Oh, I think I saw, like, in their documentary that sometimes their meat was actually dogs. I'm not making that up. Like, that is...
God, you should...
I know. And so
did you drink anything while you were there?
I mean, just a little because I didn't want to get drunk and be scared. So we had maybe one drink with dinner. But no, we stayed at a nice resort, which kind of made me even more scared because I thought maybe they would know like where to attack. But we did come back to our room and the window was open, Amy. It wasn't the door. The whole window was open. And obviously we left the door locked and the window shut, but it was just a mess.
Let's wrap up that one because that's interesting. I was just remembering when I asked you if you drank anything, the reason why AJ and I started talking and basically what made us start dating in college was because he commented on a picture of me
Mexican drinks.
Yes, I was holding a margarita in a picture and I posted it on Instagram and he commented, and I had posed in my bikini with my arm like across my stomach to cover up my stomach. And I have my margarita like covering it up. And AJ literally commented strategic arm placement. And that was literally what got us started talking. Because it was hilarious because he like knew because I literally was posed in a way that you wouldn't see my stomach because it was covered up by a lovely margarita, which is so much more lovely than my stomach. And that's how we started like dating. Because we had known each other for a couple of years, but that was like what kicked off our real conversations.
He felt like you were being brave with that margarita covering your abs.
Exactly.
Or lack of abs.
Do you know what else I remember from that trip is that this wasn't Cancun. I think it was in Cabo, maybe. And our dad had flown out there before we could get there.
Yes.
And I was
so scared.
He's an explorer. So he like got an Airbnb in the downtown area instead of like the nice resort area that we were headed to. And he got like an Airbnb in downtown area. He had no cell service, and Patty literally was panicking the whole time he was away from us, thinking, oh my God, we're not going to see him. He's not going to be at the airport. We literally like couldn't get in contact with him until we were at the airport. And I just remember Patty like being beside herself, crying, worried about him. Yeah.
And then we pull into the airport, or we look around, there's like taxis everywhere with little Mexican guys. And then there's just my dad with a rental car. He's got a full-on like minivan. He's like here to pick us up. He worked out. So he's good at it.
So something else that I remember from Mexico is our surfing lessons.
No.
I don't think it was that trip because it was prior. It was like when we were younger, because we maybe have taken other lessons since this time that I'm remembering. And maybe we've gotten a little better. But I vividly remember the first time we tried to surf. And I just want to say at the beginning of this episode, you said, you're picturing yourself on a vacation. You're smelling sunscreen. You're sniffing margaritas. You're feeling the sunshine. Well, now I want you to picture yourself
Getting drowned.
This huge ass surfboard out into this middle of this crazy ocean with sharks around you. And every single time you go into a wave to get out further and get out deeper where your instructor is, where you're supposed to be, every single wave just takes you down. And I don't just mean like down a little bit, like all the way down to the ocean floor so that your face is like literally in the sand. I remember feeling like
sand up my nose.
Sand up my nose and in my bathing suit and literally anywhere you can imagine. Like it was so bad.
Yeah.
And then we had surfing lessons, like the actual instructor. But the thing is, the instructor like couldn't really help you once you're like with the wave. He's like, goodbye. Let's see where the sun takes you. Let's see where the sun takes you. And then you're just being carried towards the shallow water. And you're like, well, how do I get down? Like, what do I do now?
How do you land? Yeah, and Dad would try to body surf and just get destroyed. I remember like anxiously awaiting seeing his face coming up above the water again because he would just so get destroyed by these waves. But it was fun. Everybody enjoyed it. That's what everybody was doing.
It was so fun. And you know what the funniest part is? I totally remember spending like about an hour just getting destroyed by waves. Like just like a mess. I mean, just like near death experience. And then we get out of the water, the surf lesson's over, and I'm like, hey, buddy, will you take a picture of me for Instagram? So then I just, fluff up my hair a little bit, put a little pose together, and I'm like, oh, everything's fine. Like, that did not just happen.
I'm so good at surfing.
I'm so good at surfing. You should totally see me. I, like, remember that picture right now in my head where the surfboard's just, like, standing up, and I'm like, okay, you don't know what just happened for this hour, but
we took one holding hands running towards the water, but we only... I think it might have been before we went in because we were still kind of dry. The only caption we had was like about surfing, and we didn't even know if we could surf yet. We're like, great day surfing, like literally drowned, but that's fun. Yes. No, you know what I miss though is like mountain vacations. So we've actually been to, I think we counted once, 25-ish national parks, and that's just what our family enjoyed. So I'd say at least over 50% of the time when we went on vacation, it was to a national park where we could tent and go camping and go hiking. And me and Amy would just sit in our little bikinis on my parents' minivan because just being tan was cool back then. So everybody else is looking at the bears and the bison and the deer. Remember, there's like millions of deer. And Amy and I are like headphones in, just tanning on top of the minivan.
Literally, yeah, that's the key word, on top of the minivan. We would literally lay out on top of the minivan, on top of the flat back of the minivan, and just lay there in our bikinis as people are like bear hunting, and we're like,
our poor dad is like, what are they doing?
Do you know what I remember from the national park is when we've done this a few times, but this was, I think, the first time we've ever stayed at a campsite that you have to hike to, and it's not like one that you can just drive to and have all your belongings there.
You have to backpack,
So you backpack to the campsite, set up your tent for the night and stuff. You stay there. So someone forgot to check the weather, and that someone would be everyone in our family because we didn't check the weather that night. And we backpacked to this campsite a couple miles from the car, set up our tent, had a little bonfire, like definitely enjoyed our evening with a nice dinner until we fell asleep and we're woken up in the middle of the night by just torrential downpour.
Storms, like really bad ones. Lightning, everything, thunder. Scary.
So I don't know why we decided we needed to leave someone at the tent.
I got left behind.
Yes.
We
left you.
I thought Amy was going to say she got left behind. I was left behind while my family walked back. Someone had to watch the tent.
We walked back to the car and we slept in the car that night, but we left Patty at the tent for like, not a while by yourself, but maybe like an hour by yourself in the storms.
Yeah. To be by myself. Like no one with me, no cell service. I'm supposed to like protect the tent, like with what,
okay, so, So now think about that trip and think about the very next morning with the tent still set up again. I posed for a cute picture right next to that tent as if nothing had happened the night before, even though
picture
we were
was cute. I remember.
I was like looking off into the distance, so cute. And then no one knew of the night before where we had literally gotten torrential rain on us.
You didn't even sleep in the tent.
Yeah.
If anything, I should have posted that because I'm the one that weathered it out. You're just
literally what this is teaching me is that there's just so many Instagram pictures and pictures out there that don't tell the true story of what happened in this trip or in this experience. And it's like,
what happened
I totally
behind the
remember
photo.
another one. Yeah, another one. We would be hiking at a waterfall. I think this was in Ohio somewhere. Beautiful waterfalls though. And I remember asking you to take a picture of me, and next thing you know, I fell like so bad, and like the waterfall was taking me down. But like that wasn't enough. I literally had to get the picture. I'm like, oh, it's fine.
She's like bleeding. She's like, hide the blood. Take the photo.
So again, took a cute picture, posed, pretending as if I literally didn't just fall in this waterfall and get taken out by it.
We always do that. We are so bad. We got the shot. That's what matters.
Yeah. But think about even like not on trips. Whenever we take pictures of each other, we are always bickering. And you would not know that from behind the camera or from the behind the picture. But when you're in person, especially when I take pictures of you, you're like, no, you have to do this instead. And I'm like,
yeah, because you never get the angle.
That's so funny.
Speaking of bickering, remember, so Amy and I used to, this is so off topic for vacations, but Amy and I used to drive my neighbor to school. This was in like 10th through 12th grade. And we picked her up and we would just fight, like full of punches, pinching. Amy's the worst pincher.
Pinching. Oh my God, the pinching.
Hair pulling while the other person's driving. And the poor girl in the back, her name's Anna, love her to death. She's sitting there like middle seat, which I think was strategic in case. Yeah. And she's just like sitting there as we're punching each other and fighting over something stupid.
And swerving so bad as we're punching each other and like avoiding punches and stuff. And we're arguing about, something stupid. There was literally nothing worth arguing about back then.
One time I'm like, I'm going to pull the emergency brake.
I don't think you ever did I don't think I've ever pulled an emergency brake either.
Like illegal. Yeah.
No, I don't think that's illegal. But I just thought of another trip. The most recent trip I went on that you unfortunately were not on was a cruise. AJ and I went on a cruise last fall, and we had the best time. Like literally, it was so much fun. We grew up going on cruises, and it had been like probably 10 to 15 years since we've been on one. So needless to say, this was the first time I've ever had the drink package, and it was such a blessing. It's like so nice to not have to worry about like, oh, do I want one more margarita or am I fine? It's like, oh, might as well. Because you do, yes. And we just had so much fun. But I just thought back to the cruises that we went on together, and I'm remembering we should have started with this story. Do you remember my little frog webkins that I loved that went on all of our family trips with us? All of them.
Threw it overboard.
You just spoiled the whole story so quickly. I literally had taken this frog webkins everywhere, like to every national park we had gone to. And I'm talking like, we weren't that young. We were like middle school approaching 9th grade, and I still loved this frog webkins.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it had been everywhere with me. It had been on hikes. It had probably been in that waterfall that I mentioned with me. And next thing you know, we're on the back of a cruise ship one evening. It was dark out. Our parents were distracted doing something else, and Patty and I are just like looking over the railing. And next thing you know, Patty's pissed at me. She takes my frog webkins and throws it overboard into the ocean. Like me. It was so cruel, and I cried so hard. And then you know what happened next?
You threw mine.
No, you threw your own. No, you were crying because you felt bad, and you threw your own next.
Those didn't mean anything to us.
But did you know, I think that's illegal to put something overboard. Like, you're not supposed to put anything overboard. And now we have, like, contributed 2 different stuffed animals into this ocean. Like, that's so bad.
There was a reel that went viral that was someone, you know, all the furniture they put on the balconies on cruises? There's tables, there's chairs. Someone, like, went viral because they were throwing all of that into the ocean. And actually, the police ended up tracking them down and arresting them because that's obviously illegal, but it was like full furniture. It wasn't a freaking Webkinz stuffed animal.
Okay, that's a Webkinz is still bad, but that's horrible furniture.
I know, really sad. And I honestly think he like went inside and grabbed like the blanket from the bed and threw it over, like just stupid stuff just to make a scene. And I think he was like making a YouTube video, but he's now in jail. So he's in jail with Pablo Escobar, who Amy thought was alive before this episode.
I really hope the police don't come and find you to take you down for throwing our stuffed animals, 2 of them, into the ocean.
I am pretty sure they won't. But speaking of cruises, we actually want to plan our honeymoon, and I'm actively trying to convince Matt to go on a cruise with me. But he doesn't lay out in the sun, and he's not just a lounge type of guy. He wants to go golfing and stuff. So I don't know if that will happen, but maybe we can have this conversation once we plan our honeymoons and go down memory lane of places that who knows where we're going to go.
That sounds like a great plan. I don't know yet what we're going to do for our honeymoon, but it sounds like we'll have to regroup a few stories from the trip and bring them onto the podcast here.
Yes. With a margarita in hand.
Of course, with a margarita on hand.
Always.
Okay. Well, it's been fun reliving these vacations. And like you just said, craving a margarita the whole time. But thank you for listening and enjoy these memories of our recent vacations.
Hey, Seeing Double listeners. Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Seeing Double podcast. We just want to remind you that you can now stream every episode on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Amazon Prime, or wherever you listen.
And don't forget to follow us on our Instagram for behind the scenes. Talk to you soon.